Okay, good evening, folks, and welcome to the Tour du Monde 2023 penultimate stage. This is stage 11, and we're having some technical difficulties. Andy is struggling to get his rig up and working. I'm struggling to stream to Facebook, so I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to record it anyway. And because I'm recording it, I can always put it on the forums later for you to watch. Now, we've had a lunchtime running of this event, and I'll tell you more about what happened there. No, this is not. No, it's not coming up, Andy, at all. It's not. This is crazy. Why are we not working? Okay, it appears that nothing is being streamed to Facebook. So it does look like I'm just going to have to record it and then we'll upload it later. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, folks. We can't get this working. I'll try again with the stream key just before we get started. Command V. Let's delete that and let's paste it in. Show it to let's see whether we've got the same thing showing or not. CPO. Click OK. Click Start Streaming. I can't mess around with these settings in OBS too much because we're due to go live in 46 seconds. So basically, I'm going to carry on with the broadcast, watch the show, and see what happens. If it doesn't stream, it doesn't stream. We'll post it up later. Okay, it's not streaming, so I'm not going to worry about the streaming. I'm simply going to record it and then I'll post it up later. Okay, so we're underway, folks. Have a good race. What we got? 47 riders in the race, and we're away. Let's see what happens. Now, the lunchtime run-in, as you can imagine, this floor course, you can see from the profile, is almost flat. So the lunchtime running of this event was more or less a sprint to the line. There was some excitement along the way, but it did come down to a bunch sprint right at the death. And if I'm honest, I see no reason why this evening's run of the event is not going to follow much the same lines. It's nice to see Christine in this group up at the front. We did wonder where she was at the lunchtime slot. I wasn't able to stream with Andy, but I did watch some of it. Not all of it, but some of it. Okay, so what we'll do is this is the front group, as you can see. Now, I don't know how many we've got here. It looks like we've got about 22 riders in this front group. And we're going to drop back and see who's been left behind. So let's do that now. There we go. 24 riders in the front group. And a couple more just off the back, just about to make contact. You can see Johnson and Macca from OTR, along with a couple of other riders. What we got there? Davidson is joining Johnson. So there we go. Yes, they're back on. So that's 28 in the front group. Now, these three riders are probably going to be dropped here, which is a bit of a shame for the Spanish rider Alacon from OTR. You've got Gottman with him and Sedlak. And these are good riders. They've probably just been caught out. They may get back on, but this is a very tough ask so early on. But having said that, if they can really put in a big effort here to get back on, then they can rest up in the group. We'll come back to them and see whether they actually make it when I work my way back up the field. not having so many riders going tonight means I can go backwards and forwards a lot more than we normally would. So we've got Geriatric and Finn here. And if they catch the two in front, which it looks like they're going to do, we'll just stay with this and see whether they make the catch. But that's going to help the three riders in front hopefully catch the main group, although they are dropping further and further behind. So they need to make this catch pretty quickly. The front group are absolutely motoring. Here we go. Now, the three riders, Geriatric's gone on past, but the other riders really need to work with him. Very high watt kilos from Geriatric, absolutely blazing up the field. Okay, let's have a look a bit further back. Let's say like there's Gottman. So that might come back together. Here we've got the first of the Portuguese riders, Cabramanca, and then Keys not too far behind. Rodat and Bryant here, and Moret, another Portuguese rider, the second one on the road at the moment, is being joined by Jandu here. Then we got Lanaham and who's that? Mr. Price, M. Price. Andy Widders. Now this is a bot, I believe, so Andy couldn't get into stream the system, which is why I took over recording. But just a reminder, folks, you're probably not watching this live on Facebook because it doesn't seem to want to stream. So I'm going to post it later on in the evening. We'll upload it and then I'll give you a link to this footage. If Andy can hear me, I don't know whether you can, but if you can post that, I will upload the footage later, Andy. And there I am at the back. This is my bot, but I believe there's a couple of riders behind me. Kluko here. Looks like Elliot has got a dropout, and it looks like Gottlieb hasn't even started. So let's go back to the front all together, which is really good because it gives me time to sort myself out. I'm just going to post a message to Andy asking him if he'll post a message. There we go. That's just sent a message to Andy telling him to post on the forums for me while I'm covering the race. Okay, so what's happening at the front? And as I say, I'm really, really pleased to see that the leading lady, or at least I believe she's the leading lady, Christine, is actually managing to stay with this group. It's good to see because that will cement her place on the ladies' GC if she can maintain this group. It's really a case of sitting in, yeah, and she's looking very, very strong, I have to say, working her way up towards the front of this group. So it's not as if she's not doing her part, she really is. Great to see that. Well done, Christine. And all the main contenders went this lunchtime. Now I'll pull up the RGTDB database and give you the results of this lunchtime running. As I say, I did manage to watch some of it. I do know who won the event, but I don't know the time. So I'm just going to pull up the database now and we'll give out those details to you. But I would expect this running to take the same format as earlier, and that's a pack ride right to the finish, and then a sprint to, unless somebody goes for a long one in the last few kilometres, this is going to finish in a bunch sprint. And I imagine they're going to keep an eye on anybody jumping off the front. I'm not sure they're going to let it happen, but let's see what happens. I really hope that there is some action to liven things up, and in fact, just as we say that, it appears that Shum, the American, I don't know what team he's riding for. Let's have a look. Let's have a zoom in. He's wearing the RGT black kit, so I'm not sure which team he's aligned with, if any. But he's got two OTR boys with him, Adi and James Ogilvy. So they're not letting him run away, and in fact, I think you might see the group coming back to them. We've just had a Polak from Moonriders joining them. Paul Pudell, who, to be honest, is one of the favourites for this stage, given the people left in it. Yeah, I think this is going to be a very interesting stage. And we've got Casper Hedidam here. Now, Casper, for whatever reason, won a stage and then opted not to ride the rest of the tour. I'm not quite sure what he's doing back here today. Unless he's just spinning his legs, because he's definitely not on GC. Shum looks very strong off the front. Don't know anything about this rider, so we'll keep an eye on him. But it would be most unusual if a rider goes off the front and manages to go all the way to the finish on a course like this. I can't see it happening personally. I think they'll pull him back, but we'll see what happens. Casper headed them going past him with 12.1 watt kilos. Okay. No, I'm not liking what I'm seeing here on screen, folks. I really aren't. The group are pulling them back now. We saw from the lunchtime slot that, and we had some of the strongest riders in the tour, and nobody was able to sort of like jump off the front and make it stick. And to be honest, I expect that to be the case tonight. That we're not going to see a rider jumping off the front and making it stick. It'll be most unusual if that happens. Certainly until we get further into the race anyway. But never say never. We'll see what transpires. So the group has been cut down slightly. Let's zoom out and have a look and see. Let's just... so it's a fair old gap. I'll zoom back in. But it's a fair old gap to the riders behind this group. So let's just have a look and see just how far the chasing riders are behind as we work his way to the back. There we go. Sadly, Christine is one of the casualties of that upping in pace from Casper and the other lad on the front. So you've got Chris S here and Christine working together in 21st and 22nd spot, but they're 250 meters behind. And that's a lot to try and make up with a really fast and large group. I don't personally think they're going to make it. So I think they're probably going to get caught up with these riders behind. Now, Paul Nichols, very strong rider, but he's at the moment in nowhere land. He's left behind the group, this small group, but I suspect he'll either ease up or this group will catch him and he'll work with them. Absolutely no sense in Paul Nichols, the OTR rider, here, working on his own. There's just, there you go. Look, there's Paul, and there's just no sense in him working on his own with a group so close. So I'm fairly convinced he'll join these 7 to make it 8, and then they'll try and catch Christine and Chris in front of them. hopefully these riders can stay together. And then we've got Schmid, and Schmid is well out of it. He's 430 metres behind that small group of 7 riders in front, so probably not going to get back to them. Bedford, though, may well join him and they can work together. And then Johnson will join Bedford, so that could make up a small group of 3. These riders are a further 300 metres off the pace of the riders in front. It's always a tough ask if you're stuck in the middle like this, because you can clearly see that there's nobody. Bryant is 230 metres behind them, and then Rodat is a further 240 metres. So riders at this point are all over the road. Now they may well join up together, but it's a tough ride for a lot of these riders towards the back of the field. There's Andy Widdows's bot, riding at 1.9 watt kilos, and he'll maintain that to the finish. And just behind him, Price is taking advantage. Now that's clever by Price, because Andy Widdows's bot will stay at 1.9. Now, we wouldn't allow him to do, or it wouldn't be cool for him to do this. I'm saying allow. It wouldn't be cool for Price to do this if it was further up the field. But at this point in the race, towards the back, I don't think anybody is going to call him out for doing this. And in fact, it's quite sensible, to be honest. It's not something I would condone, though, if it was further up the field and affecting the overall. Kesu behind, and a long way behind. He's 540 metres behind. And then we've got Kluko. And then you've got my bot, look, which is only doing 0.7. I programmed my bot just to do the bare minimum watt kilos to try and stay at the back. So I'm the last rider on the road. And going back to the front, you've got Shum going off again. Now, I hope Shum is a verified rider, because, as I say, this is quite unusual to see riders going off and staying away from such a big group. Hedidum is joining him on his wheel. And then you've got the group behind. Now, Casper was asked to verify his performance after winning I think it was the second stage of the tour, or the first mountain stage anyway. Casper was asked to verify his performance, but instead chose to leave the event, and he's returned now. So my hope is that he will verify his performances so that there's no doubt that he is legit. Okay, anyway, while we're watching this group on the road, let's have a look at the standings overall, and then we'll have a look at what happened at the lunchtime slot. So at the moment on GC, you've got Henrik Mard, and he's leading by 5 minutes in first place from John Beams. And they're both Pedlars riders, so Pedlars are currently 1 and 2. Then you've got a further 3 minutes back, you've got Simon Kerpel from Race 3R. Then a few seconds, in fact only 4 seconds behind Simon Kerpel is Tony DeLoyne. So tomorrow that could well kick off between those two riders, and in fact between second, third and fourth and fifth riders, because you've got Peter Brookwavel, who's now pulled his way back up to fifth spot after having that terrible dropout, you may remember, which put him out of he was currently in second place on the GC, had a dropout and it dropped him well down the GC. Well, he's clawed his way back up to fifth spot. And so for me, the battle is tomorrow. The battle tomorrow is all about second, third, fourth and fifth, because there's only well, John Beams will take some catching, I'll be honest. To try and take 3 minutes out of John Beams in second is going to be a big ask for the other three riders. But there's only a couple of minutes between the next three riders, third, fourth and fifth. So it is possible we could see a shake around there. Anyway, that's the GC. We'll have the ladies' GC for you tomorrow, folks. So we'll give you details on that. Okay, let's have a look and see what happened at lunchtime. I'll see if I can pull up the tour. Here we go. The 1300 running of the tour, just pulling it up now. And, of course, you got John Samut. Now, John Samut is in the running for most aggressive rider of the tour. I'm not going to tell you who's taken that prize, but John Samut is in the running for it. And today he got what I think was his first victory of the tour, which to me is a bit of a surprise, because I honestly expected John to claim one before today with his performances. He really has been a workhorse for the Pro Commotion team. Along with his teammate Jan Linden. Those two have really lit up this tour in my mind. So he won the stage with by 2 seconds from Nick Greenhalgh from Rasio Racing. And Nick put in a really good effort to try and take the win. And there was only 2 seconds in it. Well, less than 2 seconds, about 1.4 seconds in it between John Samut and Nick Greenhalgh. And then Wouter Klaas came in third place, and he was only 100th of a second behind Nick Greenhalgh. So a very, very tight finish. Even fourth place and fifth place were the same time, and then sixth place, 100th of a second. So second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth place was split by just 300ths of a second. So you can tell how close and what kind of a sprint happened at the end of that stage. It was pretty amazing to watch, and I did get to see it. Matthias Lejon finished in 7th spot, a further second behind. And then we had Jan Vanner from No Pins, Greg O'Malley and Ermia Daniel making up the top 10. So some really good results from earlier on. What are we now? We're about a quarter way into the tour, a little bit less, 20 minutes. So we're on target here for a decent time, but I'll wait until we get to the halfway stage, and we'll see how close they are to the halfway time from the lunchtime running. Okay, so how close are they to pulling back? Let's have a look. Let's just click on. So Casper's off the front, and the group are, there's Shum again, so him and Shum doing the 1-2 off the front, and the group are 40 odd meters behind. Okay, so let's just tab down and have a look at what's happening on the group behind them. So you can see a fast-moving group should be able to maintain the pace of the riders in front. But both Casper and Shum seems to be spending an awful lot of their effort in the red zone. So it'll be interesting to see how much as we get further into the course, whether they can continue to keep doing that. The OTR riders, look, are the ones that are doing the main pulling on the front, or they were, to pull this group back. However, now Rasio have taken over, Moon Riders are there, OTR are there. This is wonderful riding. All the teams seem to be wanting to make this work, so this is good riding. Okay, let's now that the riders have been caught, let's move a bit further back down the field and see what's happening behind them. Let's see how the second group is doing. This is nice to see. We've got 3 OTR riders in here. Christine's with them, Finn's with them, Gottman's here. Schmidt is in this group. Chris S is in this group. So this is nice. This is a nice group. Yeah, this is a nice group. So I think you may well find that what happens, the front group will, you'll have riders pushing the pace along, but I do still maintain what I said, that the race is basically going to stay together, or should stay together. Let's just very quickly have a look and see what's happening a bit further down the field. Then we'll go back to the front. We can afford to do this quite a bit tonight, because we've only got, I think, about 44 riders now on the course, if you take out me and Andy. So we should be able to. There we go. There's me. I'm 45th. So we got 44 riders on the course. So we should be able to spend a good bit of time going backwards and forwards, which is nice for the riders that are not able to hold on to this front group. As we watch Barub doing a nice pull on the front, and then Simos, who's a rider, the Portuguese rider, doing a nice pull as well. Now this is more the pace that you would expect, the settling in, the settling down. Nobody really is pushing huge watts, because they all know that they want to. There will be occasions when somebody does jump and they need to be able to chase. So they will, in between that happening, they will take it easy. And if you remember, we saw this when John Beams and the rest of his team were doing this on one of the earlier flat stages, where, because of the team tactics, because they'd had a good run earlier, the team were basically taking the time, and then doing pushes off the front, then settling back in again. And I think we're going to see that here. Yeah, and there you go. James Ogilvy is just mentioning on the chat that with 10 stages uh, n- behind them, not many have got the legs tonight. So that explains really why people are taking it easy. Um, and don't forget, we've got the finish of the tour tomorrow, but it's a pretty brutal stage. So riders are going to want to try and save something. You can see actually now that it's kicked off again, red numbers everywhere. And I did say this was going to happen. When the red numbers happen, the reason why the riders are relaxing between the red numbers is for this reason, for this very reason. You can only burn so many matches. You can only spend so long in the red before you blow, which is why I was a bit surprised with Schum and Casper going off the front with such high wattage early on. You can't maintain that kind of pace, um, and you've got to ease up, relax, and then gather yourself, and then go again. I mean, obviously there are those riders that can maintain the red numbers for longer than others, but um, you have to temper your efforts. Yeah, and there's a bit of a discussion going on in the chat between Shum and Hedidam about what watts to do, as if like they can choose what watts they do. Yeah, I'm sorry, folks, but that's not how these races are run. If they're in the race, they're in the race. What are they doing? Well, it's not. I'm not calling anybody out, but I just think it's not right. If you're going to come along and disrupt a race, you stay at the back. Don't go off the front and disrupt a race because you do no intention of helping out with either teammates or with the overall GC. This is what we want to see. We want to see riders like this jumping off the front and watching what happens with the group behind. And this is what we saw at lunchtime. Riders jumping off the front, small gaps, then the group just swallowing them back up. Somebody else would jump off the front. And to be honest, it was pretty, for a flat, what I call flat boring stage, it was pretty exciting and certainly, um, yeah, this is what we expect, and this is what makes for exciting racing. The finish this lunchtime was extremely exciting with so many riders. I mean, like I said earlier, three, 400 of a second separating the first five riders. Um, Pretty close affair. You don't. It doesn't get much more exciting than that. And Samut taking the win, to my eyes, was a very good win from such a good field. So, um, as I say, I'm recording this, folks. This is not going live, so all my comments um, will not be heard by the riders. This chat going on amongst the riders themselves. I think they're messaging each other. I think some of the riders in the chat were wondering what was going on a bit earlier, but it seems to be settling down now. And thankfully, we've got a real race on our hands. Um, but as Rob Miller says, check tomorrow's profile because that's one of the reasons why these riders will be chilling out tonight. They won't be wanting to do too much work purely and simply because tomorrow they've got a very hard stage and the end of the tour. And those that are in the top 10 will want to stay in the top 10. They want to cement the places. So I don't think it's really going to kick off much. What I'll try and do is, as we get into the second half of this race, what we're on now, we're coming up towards a couple of k's away from the halfway point. I'll take the halfway check in terms of the time, find out whether this group are on target, but I don't think they are. I think they're well off the pace. But I'll give you the halfway split, and then I'll probably pull up tomorrow's profile, have a quick look at it, and maybe even see if we can't give you some details about tomorrow's stage. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull up a picture, folks, because my feed isn't set up for that tonight. This was a last minute, literally with seconds to go. I realised Andy Widders was in trouble with his stream. He couldn't stream, and so I took over, but I literally had seconds to press the record button and try and get it working. So everything was a bit rushed on my end, and I haven't got my normal streaming setup running, just the recording. That's probably why we couldn't get it working to Facebook, to be honest. Normally we test it out, we get everything running smoothly, we make sure that the times match and everything goes well, but neither me nor Andy could get that working tonight. And I do know that there's been a problem with some riders in RGT. I don't know whether that's their end or whether it's been an issue with the servers. Yeah, and Andy, in fact, is on Facebook messaging me and telling me that the 12 p.m. group were already at the halfway point by this stage. In fact, they got there around 33 minutes. So this group are not even at the halfway point, somewhat 1.5 minutes later. So they're well off the pace. And as I say, I think tomorrow's stage is on a lot of these riders' minds. But it is nice to see everybody doing a fair turn on the front, everybody working well. Yeah. What else? Let's work, because they're all together. Let's once again have a look behind. Let's hope that we got 19 in this group, so we'll keep an eye on that number. Barub, it looks like, has been dropped. He was, if you remember, he was pulling off the front a little bit earlier, but he's now a kilometre and a quarter off the pace, so he's gone. Geriatric and Christie, now they were working together. Just behind them is Sedlak, and then you've got Alacon, the OTR rider, and Finn and Maka, another OTR rider. So hopefully these riders can stay together. They'll catch the rider in front, I hope, and stay together. Davidson is in nowhere land at the moment, in the middle. And you've got Paul Nichols. I don't know why Paul's so far down the field. I suspect he's had a dropout because he's far too strong a rider to be this low down the field. So I suspect he's probably had a dropout or two. In fact, he's doing 3 watt kilos now, as is Chris behind him. So I don't know. Don't know what's going on there. Gottman on his own in the middle. You've got Bedford. Mr. Johnson giving us a wave. And I'm basically just flicking through the riders here, folks, just so that we can have a look and see where everybody is on the road. It looks like we've lost 2 more riders. Or is there somebody behind me? Let's check and see. Yes, there are. There's a rider behind me, one of the ladies, Kluko. And there's Elliot, who had a dropout earlier and didn't get back in. So let's go back to the front. And Casper is once again pulling Watts off the front. Because he's not part of the overall, I don't think he should be doing this, and I'm calling him out for it. I think he should be sitting in the pack and not taking any part on the front of the tour. Maybe he's listening to me because he is dropping back now. Although I don't know how he can listen to me because I'm not live. Okay. So we'll keep an eye on this for a little while. They've now passed the halfway point, but they're well down on this lunchtime's pace. And they've whittled it down now to 18 riders. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see this group whittled down, and whittled down. We'll probably end up with about another dozen riders at the end. And then the sprint will probably be contested by 3 or 4. So we'll see what happens. Okay, let's have a look while we're watching this group. Let's have a look at tomorrow's. Here we go. Tomorrow's profile. Let's give you details. So we're on stage now. Stage 11. I thought was going to be a hilly stage, but as you can clearly see, it's not. It was a flat stage, and I think there's a very good reason for that. Tomorrow's stage is a monster. It's got 3 big climbs. The first climb is about 700 meters. The second climb goes all the way up to 900 meters, and then the last climb, what are we? Is 1,000 meters. But it finishes at the top of a mountain. And it's one of my favorite areas of the Alps, the French Alps, where it goes up the Col de Croix. Yeah, this is an area well in real life I know very well. It's about 38 kilometers in length. So for a mountain stage, virtual mountain stage in this tour, that's quite a long stage. And I think it's going to really sort out. Well, obviously it's because it's the last stage, but I think we're going to see a few changes around in the overall tomorrow. Because it's the last day, you're going to have riders burying themselves with no need to worry about having to get up and ride the next day. So, but what I have to say in this tour, what has really impressed me, and this is not being biased, folks, because I'm a member of OTR racing team, but because the turnout from OTR has been absolutely superb all the way through this tour. By far the biggest turnout of any team in every single stage. But also the work ethic as well, the way that they've worked for each other. I mean, you only had to watch the lunchtime running to see that in play. And it's really good to see them having such a great impact on the tour as a whole. Okay, so the 2 riders on the front is Hedidam and Shum, but we've got them being closely marked by the whole group. Now it'll be interesting as well, folks, to ponder on, will the main contenders choose to go in the very last session of the tour, i.e. stage 4, slot 4, Obviously, tomorrow's stage 12, the final stage. But will the main contenders like John Beams and Henrik, Brooke Wavel, and the rest of them, will they go in the final slot 4, or will they go at lunchtime, which is slot 3? I think that could be quite telling. If a large number of the main contenders choose to go at lunchtime, anybody having a bad run could potentially have another crack in the evening. But I think it makes sense for all the big hitters to go together in the same. So, if 2 or 3 of them decide to go at the lunchtime slot, you could well see other riders that plan to go in the evening slot change their mind and go in the lunchtime slot, because we've already seen in this tour what a difference it can make. If you're riding with the main contenders around you, then you tend to get pushed, and you tend to push a lot harder than what you will if you're riding with other riders further down the field. And that's played out 2 or 3 times. You only have to go back and look at some of the past footage to see that in play. And the other thing to mention is that because of the excitement factor, I definitely want to see all the main contenders all taking part in the final race. Now, whether that's lunchtime, whether that's slot 4, I'm not sure. I couldn't help out with covering this lunchtimes session and stream with Andy purely and simply because I was on daddy duty with the girls. So I managed to watch part of it while making jigsaw puzzles with the girls. But tomorrow, again, I'm not sure whether I'm going to be able to cover the lunchtime slot. I suspect not. So I suspect that tomorrow night is my last chance to cover a slot. So from my own point of view, I really hope that all the main contenders leave it until tomorrow night to have their final run. But that's just me being selfish, because I probably can't make the lunchtime stream. We'll see. What I definitely will do is I will check RGT and find out who's signing up for the lunchtime slot. So have we seen? Yeah, we've seen a bit of a. I think we've seen another couple of riders now drop off the back of this group. So let's work his way back and see who those riders are. There we go. So I don't know. We've got 2 more joining now. So no, we've got Simos is up here with them. So we've got 18 riders in this group. Slater there, you can see his 18th rider at the back. And then we've got Freiberg in 19th place, but he's a good way behind and he's not going to get back on. And then Berube, who was previously in the front group, is on his own with these riders chasing him. Let's see if we can get Berube. There we go. So you can see Berube on the road and this group chasing, and they're going to catch him. I'm pretty sure of that. How many we got here? We got 6 riders here. They'll latch on to Berube, catch him, and then they may well catch the next rider, Freiberg, in front of them. And you can clearly see they're making an effort to try and close this gap on him here now. And it's still nice to see Christine. Here she is doing a turn on the front, pulling this group along. So she's definitely not just sitting in and drafting. She's doing a fair share of the work. And that's great to see. By far, for me, the outstanding female performance of this tour. Okay, let's drop back to Davidson. He's 780 meters behind, so he's not going to get back to that group. Paul Nichols is still in 28th. He was in 28th when last we visited him. So he's still in the middle in Nowhere Land. These two were fairly close together. They've now joined up together. These Cabramanca and Bedford, they're not going to get back onto the riders in front. Keys is out on his own. Rodat and Johnson. They've got Bryant 230 meters behind. So, and then obviously you've got Andy's Bott, Michael Langham and Price here. And then I think you're getting down to me. Kesu and Landu riding together. This is nice to see at the back. And then there's my Bott. And then you've got Kluko bringing up the last rider. But back to the front, Casper heading them off the front. They'll just ignore him. He's not. And in fact, he's so far ahead now, he's not interrupting the race. So these riders won't worry about him. I just hope he doesn't take the win, because I do think he should drop back into the pack and let one of these riders take the win. But you can see they're already, the pace is being pushed up on the front. You can see the red numbers and you can see it stretching them out. Now, as we're coming in towards the finish, what we got, 15 kilometres remaining. So as we get nearer and nearer to the finish, I think we're going to see more of this, more of the pace being pushed along. And as I said, you're going to see this group thin down, maybe to around about 12 riders. And then as we get in towards 6 kilometres, 5 kilometres, you see it thin down even more. So here you go. Look, you can clearly see them being stretched out here by the pace. Hence the red numbers on screen from riders trying to stay with it. 14 riders at the front. Another couple of riders just tagging on the back to stay with them. But they've already dropped. Have they? No, they haven't. They're all together. 18 riders still. But I guarantee you this is going to thin out even more so. Now, there's an argument here for saying, well, they're just ignoring the rider off the front and doing their own thing. But the truth is that a rider off the front like that is a carrot. So it does affect the race. And Casper is actually messaging to say he's done now. So hopefully we're going to see him drop that back through the pack and not take any further part in the front. Because I don't think he should. If he wants to push the big watts and then he should join the likes of John Beams and co. In the main group. So still 18 riders. Towards the end, as you can probably see from the, let's see if I can just highlight it for you folks. You can see that there's a little bit of a rise here where you can see my mouse pointing now. So they're very close to that one. And then you've got a couple of slight yellow sections here, just free. But these hills are so short, they're not going to really affect the overall. You will get the riders kicking on them, there's no doubt about that. But the one to watch is this one towards the end. You can just see that little bit of yellow section. It kicks up and then it flattens out. And on that kick up, that's a perfect place to sort of like, stretch out your sprint. So we'll see what happens there. As I say, the lunchtime was very, very tight. Certainly the top 10 were just seconds between them all. So, but it's fair to say that the lunchtime group was a good bit stronger than this group. If you take all the GC contenders that were in it and the ones that are at the top of the leaderboard. So I don't know who the closest rider is here to the overall, but we haven't got a top 5 rider in this group. I'd need to have a look to see whether we've even got a top 10 rider in this group. In fact, I'll tell you what, I can actually do that as we speak and have a look and see who's. Let's see if we can't. I can't have a look at the GC and see whether we got any of the top 10 riders here. Tony, Peter, coming back. No, we haven't. We haven't got any of the. In fact, we haven't got any of the top 20 riders in this group. James Ogilvie is 21st. So James is the highest rider on general classification. And I think I've just made a mistake. Is James riding tonight? James is not riding tonight, is he? So why did I say that? Okay, my mistake, folks. James is not even riding, so we haven't got anybody in the top 20 riding tonight. I still expect it to be a very good sprint, though. Oh, James is riding. I thought I'd seen him. There he is in 9th spot. So James is in this group. So he's the highest placed rider. Yeah, I thought I'd seen him. That's stupid me. I'm tired, folks. That's what it is. You know, you got 2 small kids and they wear you out. Especially on the weekends. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Okay, so have they actually dropped a couple of riders now? I can see 16 at the back, so let's have a look. Yep, they've dropped 2 riders off the back, Rob Miller and I think, is it Tony Lake? Or Terry Lake. So those 2, Rob will probably close the gap here though. So he'll pull back Lake, possibly close the gap. Let's stay with them and see whether they do or whether they actually pull away. Because it's slightly uphill and Rob is a strong rider, he may well pull this back. Although the riders in front are doing red numbers and they're not. So maybe not. No, they're not going to get back on now. You can clearly see the gaps opening up now. So basically, these 2, I don't think, I mean, looking at Rob's watts, I don't think he was really that fussed, to be honest. He could prove me wrong by just closing the gap, because he's capable. If Rob really wanted to close this gap, he's more than capable of doing so. But I don't know whether... Oh, he is. He's putting in 5 watt kilos. So Rob is obviously wanting to get back. Maybe he was just having a bit of a breather before he put in this huge effort. Look, 5.3 watt kilos to get back to the group. What a great ride. And the great thing is that he's pulled the OTR rider along with him. Now, he needs to get into this group and get recovery, because the worst thing you can do and you'll probably be fed up of hearing me saying this because I've said it so many times. Lake has done exactly the right thing there by going towards the front of the pack, because what we often see is a rider making a catch and then being shot straight out of the back because he stays at the back of the group, and instead of going right to the front or right to the middle, and he eases up because he thinks, oh, I've made it, and then before you know it, he's out the back again with a 10-meter gap, and he has to sprint again to get back on. And there's only so many times you can do that. So that's good tactics by Lake there to make sure. And he looks strong, to be honest. You could see he wasn't in the draft there, and he was managing the pace quite nicely. So it looks good. The Moonrider's Pollock looks good on the front, along with Ploiter. And as I say, it's absolutely great to see the OTR riders bossing this stage. I think we've got 5 or 6 in this front group, which is by far the largest number of any team in this remaining 18, or is it now 16 riders? In fact, let's do that. Let's have a count and see just how many riders we've got in this group. Probably be 16 or 17, I think. There we go, 17. Yeah. In fact, 18, so same number as before. We keep dropping people and then they keep getting back on, so as you watch Baber at the back here, he's got to get back in. We're coming into quite an exciting part of the course now because of those few bumps that you've got just here, just coming up. It's going to get a little bit tricky for some of the riders, and I think you're going to see a couple of pushes as well. We did at the lunchtime spot, but I still believe that this is going to go all the way down to a bunch sprint at the end. Just as I say, that Pollock tries to go off the front, but he's very quickly pulled back by the group. But once again, that will have an effect on the riders behind. As you can see, these 6 riders all working nicely together. Looks like everybody's doing a fair share of the work. Alacon, it looks like he's been dropped from that group. 80, and he's dropping back. Paul Nichols. I think Paul might have had a technical or a dropout earlier. Could be wrong there, but I think so. Probably jump onto Davidson's wheel, which is exactly what he's doing here. So he's jumping on his wheel and just going along for the ride. Chris S behind, Gottman sailing past him. Chris S just looks like he's prepared to roll into the finish. He's not even doing any watts here, so is he about to pull over? I don't know what's going on there. We'll catch up with him later, but it looks like he was pulling over there. Cabramanca. Now, you never know whether it's a dropout or whether it's actual them stopping cycling. You just don't know. Sometimes they'll message in the chat and let you know what's gone on. Other times not. But a lot of riders just individually, as you can see here on the road. As we get Johnson joining Bryant. There's Sue and Jandu. Now they split up. They were riding together. And there's the last rider, Kluko. So we've got Simoes has gone off the front with James, joined by Paul Pudell. Now, there's a case here, because we've got such a good turnout from OTR, there is a case for team tactics as we get to around the 5 kilometre mark. And it wouldn't surprise me if we saw that playing out. But the other side of the coin, of course, is what we spoke about earlier, and that's that how much a rider's going to give tonight when they know that they've got the last stage tomorrow, the Queen stage even. Yeah, it's going to be a dramatic day tomorrow. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Having seen the profile, yeah, you've got a Category 3 and 2 Category 1 climbs tomorrow. And the final climb is to the top of the mountain, 1,000 meters. So, and it's almost from the floor as well. So they're climbing from what? They're climbing from more or less the valley all the way up the mountain. It's going to be quite an exciting stage. So it's getting to around about the point where you start to pick a favourite here. But I'm not going to do so because it's a sprint. I have no idea. This could go to anybody. And in fact, I think we're going to see a new winner tonight in this. I don't think we're going to... It could be any of these riders, but it is splitting up. They are pushing the pace now. Let's go to the front. That's Casper getting involved again. I thought he said he was done and he was giving up. No, he shouldn't be doing any work. He shouldn't be anywhere near the front. Shouldn't be doing any work whatsoever. Okay. I've made my views very clear here, so and I'm not going to take them back either. I just think this is bad form from Casper. Anyway, hopefully the race will go on without him. Who have we got on the front now? We've got Jan Stross, who is a very strong rider, the 3-hour rider. And in fact, I would put him up amongst the potential winners of this stage. And it would be nice because he hasn't taken a stage yet. So it would be nice to see him take this one. And Polak as well, the Moonriders rider. He's another rider that I think could be one of the contenders for the overall win. But don't count out the OTR riders, Ploiter and Ogilvy. And even Paul Pudell is going to be up here in the finishing group. How many have we got now? Is it split up at all? Are we still? Yeah, it looks like we've had a split. So let's yes, we have. There's Lake. So it's split now to 14. I said it would split to about 12. So it's split to 14 riders. And we've got 3.75 kilometers left to run. We'll keep an eye on the front. I think we'll stay with this view because it allows me to see who's on the wheels. Now this is where I said you could see the OTR, but no, Paul went to the front and then eased up, so he's not going early. And what we got, the group, it looks to have slimmed down even more. We've got 3 OTR boys in this group. So could we be seeing a winner coming from this group? An OTR rider coming from this group as a winner was what I meant to say, folks. Well, you got James jumping off the front. Now, I fully expected some kind of tactic from OTR. And sure enough, James has pulling the pace along here at the front. He's not giving it big leaks. He's just raising the pace slightly. He's going into the red now that he's turned the corner, but very quickly eases up. So I don't think this is an effort to get off the front and get away yet. I think James is going to settle in for a sprint, to be honest. Certainly looks that way. Because if you look at the wattage now, nobody is pushing the big watts here. I really want Casper Hedidam to drop out of this group and get back and not play any part in it. Okay, who's that jumping? That's Paul Pudell. But he's not, look, he's sitting up, so he's not trying to jump away. I'm fairly convinced that all these riders now have decided, okay, let's just have a sprint. So you might get somebody going for a long one when they get to just under 2 kilometres, but I'm not so sure you will. I think you may well, although James looks like he's having a bit of a push here, but he's not going full gas, you see. This is not full gas. Ploiter behind him is trying to get on his wheel, so maybe they're trying to do a 1-2, but no, they're not. 3 OTR riders pulling it along at the front, but still nobody's opened it up. Nobody's pushing those really big watts that you need to get the gap. Who have we got? We got Jan Strosk, who, as I said, could be one of my picks if I had to pick anybody, along with Pollack. But James, let's get the overhead now and see what's happening. Are we getting towards the kite? We should be getting towards the red kite very soon. And the settling in. Look, the pace is settling again. The pace is settling again. Here we go. I noticed that Schum has rejoined this group. Let's hope we get a nice clean sprint with no interference. You see they're both there. Schum and Casper are both there. Yeah, Drost needs to make sure that he isn't spending too much time on the front, else he'll have nothing left for the sprint. James pulls the pace along at the front, still hasn't opened it up. Now he's putting in a bit of an effort, but still not opened it up. 800 meters to go. Hedidam has gone off the front. This is wrong. This is so wrong. Well, I'm not going to announce him as the winner. As far as I'm concerned, he is not the winner. So, whether he wins it or not. Simoes is going for a long one. Let's have a look at Simoes. So this is your event winner, folks, by the look of it, if he's not caught. Simoes. Yeah, Simoes is going to get it. Yeah, I said it would probably go to somebody we didn't, who hadn't won a stage before. So Simoes gets the win from Ploiter and Pollack just on third wheel. So yes, let's have a look and see who else we've got coming over the line. Everybody arriving. Cavelius coming in 12th place, but all the other riders. IK coming in. So a really good race. Lake. And then Rob Miller has pulled back quite a gap. There we go, look. The two Millers are going to come in together. Aid from OTR. Oh, it looks like Rob is just easing up here. He's got absolutely nothing to prove, Rob. He's probably just taking it easy and waiting for tomorrow's stage. And then we've got a bit of a gap, folks, to the next riders coming in. There is a nice group behind Rob, so we'll just watch him going over the line. And then there's a nice gap to the riders behind. And what I'll do is I'll try and pull up the live results on the RGTDB site, and we'll see who got the other places as well. So these riders are almost 2 kilometers from the finish. Let's just see if we can't get to the results page, and it should be live now. So there we go. There's the 1945. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Yeah, here we go. So Simoes takes the win from Ploiter. John Pollock in third place. Rob Slater in fourth. Baber in sixth place. Michael Jansdrost in sixth place. James Ogilvie in seventh. Paul Pudell in eighth. Jessen in ninth. And Casey Shum brought up the 10th spot. The winning time was 1:11:42, which is 5 minutes slower than the lunchtime run. But I did say that it was nowhere even close, so I was right in that respect. So we're going to stay with it, folks, and I am going to stay and wait for the riders to come in. So I'm going to be here for a little while yet. We'll give every rider their few minutes of fame. What has really impressed me from this running, apart from obviously the winners up at the front, has been this ride from Christine, the leading lady. She's done really well to stay with the groups. And when I say really well, I don't mean because she's managed to stay with the groups. I mean because of the amount of work she's put in. She's put equal amounts of work in amongst the groups that she's joined, which, you know, many riders don't do that. You get many riders that are prepared to sit in and just get pulled to the line. But none of that tonight. So that's nice to see. As we watch Sedlak coming into the line. And then Christine. And then Macca from OTR. And a bit of a gap now to the following riders. Alacon has got 1.7 left to ride. Then we got 3 riders. Paul Nichols is not far from him, so these three riders could well end up riding together towards the finish. They've got 1.5 kilometres left. So they could end up riding together to the finish. And they will finish in the top 30, as you can see from the numbers on screen. Okay, so under the 1 kilometre to go kite, it looks like there's a rider in front of them. So we'll just, oh yeah, it's Alakan. They're going to catch him, so I think they will end up coming towards the line together, this group. There's Alakan, look. And yeah, they're not that far behind him, so we'll stay with these, and we'll switch to Alakan if he's going to get over the line first. It looks like he might. While Nichols is trying to close up to him. Okay, let's just. I think we ought to go forward and watch this rider going over the line. And he takes a little bit of a gap between the riders just behind him. There he is, over the line. Then we got Davidson. And then Paul Nichols just behind. So Davidson is going to go over the line. And then Paul Nichols following. Then we've got another little bit of a gap to Cabramanca here. And he's in nowhere land. He's basically riding on his own. So we'll spin the camera around to follow him. Now, there may be some of you that are probably thinking I'm being a bit harsh with my commentary tonight on Shum and Casper Hedidam. But I have to say, folks, that I genuinely believe that tonight's stage was influenced by those two riders, and Casper in particular. I genuinely believe that he should have stepped away. By all means, to ride the stage. What he could have done was he could have given the group, a really good gap and then worked further down the field if he wanted to. But to get involved the way he has, I just think that's totally out of order, and I'm calling it as such. Now, I might well be asked not to return as a commentator, but I can only call it as I see it, and that's the way I see it. Now, we have to pick, myself and Andy Widders, we have to pick the most aggressive rider over the tour. And what I am going to do tonight is I'm going to tell you who the main contenders for that is, but I'm not going to tell you who we've picked. However, what I am going to do is I'm going to give you 4 names And one of those names I'm going to immediately discount, and I'll explain why we're going to immediately discount that name when we move forward. Now, the four names is John Samut, Johan Ahen, Henrik Mard, and, you know, the name has just escaped me now. Just give me a minute, folks. Sorry. This is embarrassing. Just let me pull up the results, because the name has completely gone out of my head. As we watch Cabramanca coming in towards the finish. Linden, that's the name, Linden. So just to repeat those names for you folks, you've got Henrik Mard, you've got John Samut, you've got Johan Ahen, and you've got Linden from Poco. Now they're the four that are in the running for most aggressive rider, but the one rider that I'm going to kick from that four straight away is Henrik Mard. And that's because Henrik Mard has taken the GC. And to be honest, because it's my personal belief, and I'll see whether Andy agrees with me, but I think it's a little unfair to give the most aggressive rider to Henrik because he's won the GC. But in my opinion, Henrik has been the most aggressive rider. However, we're not going to give the title to Henrik because he's won the GC, as we watch Cabramanca coming over the line. Let's just get to the next rider on the road, Bedford. And he's got 840 metres to run. So the title for most aggressive rider is going to go to either John Samut, Johan Ahen, or, and I don't know his first name, Mr. Linden. Let me just get his first name, because I hate giving everybody else's names and then not being able to give his name. Jan Linden from Poco. So they're the three riders that we're going to vote on and decide between. The winner will be revealed tomorrow during the stage. Okay, so we're watching, we're watching Bedford coming over the line here, and then not far behind him we've got Mr. Gottman. So there we go. Then we've got a little bit of a gap. Now the final riders, I generally hang around, but just looking at the kilometres left to do by the final riders, once again I'm going to be finishing the broadcast before the last rider comes in. As we're watching Rodak coming up to the red kite. And the reason why I say it's pretty obvious to me that the riders towards the very end of the field, certainly the last rider, has probably had some kind of an issue, because she's even behind my bot, which is doing 0.7 watt kilos. So she's well behind my bot by 3 kilometers. So there's obviously been an issue there, and I am going to have to end the broadcast to spend what's left of the evening with my family. But I'll stick around until we get the next batch of riders through. So everything to play for tomorrow. No idea what's going to happen in terms of who's going to ride when. As I mentioned earlier, I really hope that all the big hitters go at the same time rather than splitting themselves up. I think it will make for a much more exciting race. For those folks that are still with me and still watching the broadcast, another reason for potentially wanting to get this finished a little bit early is then I can start to get it uploaded to our YouTube server. And I'm going to do that. In fact, I'm going to watch Keys coming in, so I'm going to watch the next rider coming in after Rodart, and then sadly I'm going to end the broadcast because I want to get this uploaded. So we'll watch this rider 724 meters to come in, because it is a fair distance to the following riders. So we'll watch Keys coming in, and then I'm just gonna fire up the YouTube channel now as we speak. And let's get that sorted. So I need to sign out. And here we go. So just talk amongst yourselves for a little while, folks, while I just get this ready for uploading to the YouTube server. And it'll be recorded in high definition. Because I wasn't streaming at the same time, I turned on the maximum quality. So it should be quite a nice broadcast. Let's get signed in. There we go, OTR e-racing. So we're just about ready now to upload as we watch Keys coming into the finish. Thank you everybody for watching tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage, and we'll see you tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody. And myself and Andy will be back tomorrow to finish off the tour. Bye for now.